So, should Christians use a transgender person's preferred gender pronoun? You have the case of an anatomical male, someone who's born male, who would like you to call him a her, and an anatomical female, someone who's born female, like you to call her a him. Should a Christian do this? And I answer no, and I'll give you some reasons why. Before I give you those reasons, this is a huge issue right now, and for one, it's a big issue because it's being debated before Parliament in the form of a law that is probably going to be passed. The name of the bill is Bill C-16, Transgender Rights Bill, and I'll just read for you some summary statements from that bill itself. It says, this enactment amends the Canadian Human Rights Act to add gender identity and gender expression to the list of prohibited grounds for discrimination. The enactment also amends the Criminal Code to extend the protection against hate propaganda set out in that act to any section of the public that is distinguished by gender identity or expression, and to clearly set out that evidence that an offense was motivated by bias, prejudice, or hate based on gender identity or expression constitutes an aggravating circumstance that a court must take into consideration when it imposes a sentence. Now, as it pertains to that bill, we certainly don't want to be hateful people as Christians. We want to love people as best as we can. But there's a problem with this in that we have to ask the question, who gets to define what hate is? Who gets to define what prejudice is? Who gets to define what bias is? Who gets to define what hate propaganda is? And so in our day and age, we're seeing very clearly that the definition of hatred is changing by the day almost. So what was hatred 5 years ago may not be hatred today, and what was acceptable 5 years ago may not be acceptable today, and indeed might be hatred today. And those who are passing these laws, because of the subjective nature of language now, those who are passing these laws risk having these very laws turned against them in a few years. Is what they consider to be right may be hateful a few years from now, and what they consider to be hateful may be considered to be right a few years from now. So we just need to say at the outset that there is a serious danger with these laws. Now, some people fear that this bill is an attempt to coerce people into using language that they don't want to use. And I don't think this is an hysterical notion or interpretation of the bill, because there certainly are cases where people have attempted to coerce people to refer to them by their preferred gender pronoun and have considered it hateful when they're not being referred to by their preferred gender pronoun. So I don't think this is a hysterical notion. I don't think it's crazy to think that this may be an attempt to coerce people into using language that they don't want to use. Those who are Christians, like me, believe that God has created all people, and in creating us, He has assigned us gender. And we don't get to pick gender. There's certain things that we don't get to pick. We don't get to pick who our parents are. We don't get to pick where we were born. We don't get to pick our anatomy. And we certainly don't get to pick our gender. And so to reject the gender that God has assigned us at birth is nothing more than a rebellion against God. And further, to kind of buy into this notion that someone can pick their gender is to buy into an illusion. It's to buy into a lie. And as Christians, we believe in truth. We want to tell people the truth. We want to live by truth. And so if I'm going to refer to a him as a her or a her as a him, what I'm doing is simply telling a lie. I'm buying into someone's fabricated understanding of the universe or of reality. And so we can't do that. We can't back down. We can't use someone's preferred gender pronoun if that pronoun contradicts the gender that they were assigned by God at birth. Now, Can I use someone's preferred name? Well, I think the gender of a name is a little more subjective than the gender of a pronoun. The gender of a pronoun is objective, okay? Her is feminine. He is masculine. But a name is a little more subjective. I mean, even Johnny Cash told us about a boy named Sue. So, a name is a little different. But a pronoun, I don't think we can. In fact, I'm very confident that we can't buy into this whole preferred gender pronoun phenomenon that our culture is being caught up in. It's illogical. Not only is it unscriptural, not only is it a lie, it's illogical. I mean, it would be like me saying, I'm 35 years old, but I'd like to self-identify as a 15-year-old. Or I'm a white man who would like to identify as a black man. Or I am a human being and I would like to self-identify as a cat. Okay, we can't do this. It's illogical, it's a lie, and it is absolute nonsense. We're not buying into this as Christian people. Not only that, it doesn't help people who are being deceived. So if there's a man who thinks he's a woman, the best thing for that man is to come to grips with reality. And we don't want to help people cope with reality by creating a false reality or some type of fiction. We want to help people cope with reality by helping them cope with reality. So this is actually a really unloving thing to do, to help someone be deceived, is evidently some people are. Further, this is a free country. And in this country, we have hundreds of years of freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom of religion. And we have the right to speak truth. We have the right to be led by our own consciences. And nobody has the right to impose upon us, or at least attempt to coerce us into saying what they want to say, especially if what they want to say is a lie. So just a generation or two ago, there was a group of people who died on Normandy's beaches to defend our freedom. And their blood was shed to protect us against people who want to impose or coerce our consciences. And they gave the ultimate sacrifice. So I think that in one sense, the freedom that we've inherited and that has been passed down to us, that has come on the backs of those who have gone before us, and many have shed their life for, that sacrifice needs to be honored in our defense of our own freedom. So if it becomes illegal for me to call a man or a woman, and if the sentence that is to be imposed upon me for calling a he, or a she is a sentence of imprisonment, then I guess I go to jail.